friends. All right. So we just finished up chapter 18, and they had realized that they were floating on the ocean, and they had just tasted the peach, so they knew they had a ton of food. So they knew they were safe, they knew they had plenty of food, but they're still stuck in the middle of the ocean, in a beach. It doesn't have sails or rudders or anything to point them in a specific direction. They don't have maps, so they don't even know where they're supposed to go. So what's going to happen to them? Do you think that they're just going to float in the ocean and someone will come by and get them? Do you think that they're going to start steering the boat? Think about that. All right, let's read chapter 19. Look, cried the centipede just as they were finishing their meal. Look at that funny thin black thing gliding along through the water over there. They all swung around to look. There are 2 of them, said Miss Spider. There are lots of them, said the ladybird. What are they? Asked the earthworm, getting slightly worried. They must be some kind of fish, said the old green grasshopper. Perhaps they have come along to say hello. They are sharks, cried the earthworm. I'll bet you anything like that they are sharks and they have come along to eat us up. What an absolute rot, the centipede said, but his voice seemed suddenly to have become a little shaky, and he wasn't laughing. I am positive they are sharks, said the earthworm. I just know that they are sharks. And so, in actual fact, did everybody else, but they were too frightened to admit it. There was a short silence, and they all peered down anxiously at the sharks, who were just cruising slowly round and around the beach. Just assuming there are sharks, the centipede said. There still can't possibly be any danger if we stay up here. But even as he spoke, one of those thin black fins suddenly changed direction and came cutting swiftly through the water right up to the side of the peach itself. The shark paused and stared up at the company with small, evil eyes. Go away, they shouted. Go away, you filthy beast. Slowly, almost lazily, the shark opened his mouth, which was big enough to have swallowed up a perambulator, and made a lunge at the peach. They all watched, aghast. And there they are. There's the peach, and you can see they're all on top of the peach, and all of the sharks are swimming around below it. I would not want to be up there either. And now, as though at a signal from the leader, all the other sharks came swimming in towards the peach, and they clustered around it and began to attack it furiously. There must have been 20 or 30 of them at least, all pushing and fighting and lashing their tails and churning the water into a froth. Panic and pandemonium broke out immediately on top of the peach. Oh, we are finished now, cried Miss Spider, wringing her feet. They will eat the whole peach, and then there'll be nothing left for us to stand on, then they'll start on us. She is right, shouted the ladybird. We are lost forever. Oh, I don't want to be eaten, wailed the earthworm. But they will take me first of all because I am so fat and juicy and I have no bones. Is there nothing we can do? Asked the ladybird, appealing to James. Surely you can think of a way out of this. Suddenly they were all looking at James. Think, begged Mrs. Spider. Think, James, think. Come on, said the centipede. Come on, James. There must be something we can do. Their eyes waited upon him, tense, anxious, pathetically hopeful. Chapter 20. There is something that I believe we might try, James Henry Trotter said slowly. I'm not saying that it'll work. Tell us, the earthworm cried. Tell us quick. We'll try anything you say, said the centipede, but hurry, hurry. Be quiet and let the boy speak, said the ladybird. Go on, James. They all moved a little closer to him. There was a longish pause. Go on, they cried frantically. Go on! And all the time while they were waiting, they could hear the sharks threshing around in the water below them. It was enough to make anyone frantic. Come on, James, the ladybird said, coaxing him. I'm afraid it's no good after all, James murmured, shaking his head. I'm terribly sorry. I forgot. We don't have any string. We need hundreds of yards of string to make this work. What sort of string? Asked the old green grasshopper sharply. Any sort, just as long as it's strong. But, my dear boy, this is exactly what we do have. We've got all you want. How? Where? The silkworm, cried the old green grasshopper. Didn't you ever notice the silkworm? She's still downstairs. She never moves. She just lies there sleeping all day long. But we can easily wake her up and make her spin. And what about me, may I ask? Said Miss Spider. I can spin just as well as any silkworm. What's more, I can spin patterns. Can you make enough between you? Asked James. As much as you want. And quickly? Of course, of course. And would it be strong? The strongest there is, as thick as your finger. But why? What are you going to do? I'm going to lift this peach clear out of the water, James announced firmly. You're mad, cried the earthworm. It's our only chance. The boy's crazy. He's joking. Go on, James, the ladybird said gently. How are you going to do it? Skyhooks, I suppose, jeered the centipede. How do you think he's going to do it? How is Rope going to get a peach out of the water in the middle of the ocean with nothing around to hook it on? What would you do? I don't know. Seagulls, James answered calmly. The place is full of them. Look up there. They all looked up and saw a great mass of seagulls wheeling round and round and around in the sky. I'm going to take a long silk string, James went on. I'm going to loop one end of it around a seagull's neck. And then I'm going to tie the other end to the stem of the peach. He pointed to the peach stem, which was standing up like a short, thick mast in the middle of the deck. And then I'm going to get another seagull and do the same thing again. And then another and another and another. Ridiculous, they shouted. Absurd, poppycock, balderdash, madness. And the old green grasshopper said, how can a few seagulls lift an enormous thing like this up into the air, and all of us as well? It would take hundreds, thousands. There's no shortage of seagulls, James answered. Look for yourself. We'd probably need 400, 500, 600, or maybe even 1,000. I don't know. I shall simply go on hooking them up to the stem until we have enough to lift us. They'll be bound to lift us in the end. It's like balloons. You give someone enough balloons to hold, I mean really enough, then up he goes. And a seagull has far more lifting power than a balloon. If only we have the time to do it. If only we are not sunk first by those awful sharks. You're absolutely off your head, said the earthworm. How on earth do you suppose to get a loop of string around a seagull's neck? I suppose you're going to fly up there yourself and catch it? The boy's dotty, said the centipede. Let him finish, said the ladybird. Go on, James. How would you do it? With bait. Bait? Bait. What sort of bait? With a worm, of course. Seagulls love worms. Don't you know that? And luckily for us, here we have the biggest, fattest, pinkest, juiciest earthworm in the world. You can stop right there, the earthworm said sharply. That's quite enough. Go on, the other said, beginning to grow interested. Go on. The seagulls have already spotted him, James continued. That's why there are so many of them circling around. But they daren't come down to get him while all the rest of us are standing here. So this is what... So here's a picture of him explaining his plan to everyone. And you can see the little specks are the seagulls waiting up high. But they daren't come down to get him while all the rest of us are standing here. So this is what... Stop, cried the earthworm. Stop, 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 stop. I won't have it. I refuse. I... Be quiet, said the centipede. Mind your own business. I like that. My dear earthworm, you're going to be eaten anyway, so what the difference does it make whether it's shark or seagulls? I won't do it. Why don't we hear what the plan is first, said the old green grasshopper. I don't give a hoot what the plan is, cried the earthworm. I am not going to be pecked to death by a bunch of seagulls. You will be a martyr, said the centipede. I shall respect you for the rest of my life. So will I, said Miss Spider, and your name will be in all the newspapers. Earthworm gives life to save friends. But he won't have to give his life, James told them. Now listen to me. This is what we'll do. And that's where we're going to stop for tonight. So how do you think they're going to use him as bait but keep him safe? And they have to get all these seagulls, and they're worried about the sharks. Who's going to spin the web? Is it going to be the silkworm and Miss Spider? Are both of them going to spin? Who's going to be hooking the seagulls? I have so many questions. I wish you guys were here to help me ask more. All right, my friends, while you guys are home, I want you to think. Maybe can you figure out or remember your favorite scene so far? Or think about which character do you like the best? I feel like some of you will really like Mrs. Spider or Miss Ladybird. And I think some of you would really like the centipede. All right, my friends. Have a good night. Bye.